So the Hulk is a major part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and has been since like the very beginning, almost. And he's reached levels of popularity now that he likely hasn't reached since his TV appearance in the 70s.
Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Now, despite all of that, it seems like the Hulk is talked about less than almost any other Marvel superhero, and I hear less about his origin from people than any other character, which is a shame because my first mainstream comic was actually reprints of the first 6 issues of The Incredible Hulk, and was pretty instrumental in getting me interested in comic books and in superheroes and in all of that. So the question is, did this book get me into comic books because it's good? Or did it get me into comic books because 8-year-old me just didn't know any better? Well, how about we hop in and let's review The Incredible Hulk number 1. The story starts with scientist Bruce Banner. Bruce Banner is a brilliant scientist who is just about to test the Army's biggest, newest weapon, the gamma ray bomb. His assistant Igor insists that Banner needs to share the secret of the bomb with him, and starts to get kind of violent when Banner refuses to give him the formula. Oh gee, I wonder who the bad guy is. Anyway, a teenager named Rick Jones drives this car out to the test site for the bomb, and Banner calls for the test to be halted. Igor refuses to halt it. Banner runs out into the field to try and get the kid off the test site. Because this top secret military bomb testing site doesn't have any military security whose job is to do that. Banner gets Rick Jones to safety, but he is then bombarded by tons of gamma rays and gamma radiation. Cut to later, and Bruce Banner and Rick Jones are sitting in a military medical facility, and as night falls, Bruce Banner feels his throat constricting, his heart racing, and he turns into the Hulk. And then, the Hulk does some basic Hulk stuff. He punches out a Jeep, he breaks a few walls, and instinct drives the Hulk to go straight to Bruce Banner's house. When we get to Bruce Banner's home, we find Igor is there. He's throwing over tables, he's looking through files, just trying really, really hard to find the gamma ray formula. Hulk throws him around a bit. Rick tries to remind the Hulk that he is Bruce Banner, and the Hulk doesn't like that, and he's about to smash Rick Jones, turn him into a puddle, and all of a sudden, as he's about to grab Rick, the sun comes up, day comes, and the Hulk transforms back into Bruce Banner. The army comes, they clean up, they escort Igor out, they take the gamma ray formula for safekeeping, and then they leave as suddenly as they came. Because the army has never stayed in a place longer than it needed to be. Particularly in the 60s. Story B then follows primarily about a mutant mastermind named the Gargoyle, and he captures the Hulk, but then the Hulk turns back into Bruce Banner, and Bruce Banner offers to cure the Gargoyle of his mutation. He accepts, and then afterwards the Gargoyle kamikazes himself and a bunch of the Soviet Union's scientific research. Story B. So immediately you can spot some really big differences and departures from how Hulk is popularly depicted. First off, the Hulk is gray rather than green. His transformation is night-day shifted rather than emotionally shifted. And Hulk's strength kind of seems a little bit nerfed in this version. He doesn't really do anything too impressive. Nothing that we haven't seen before already, at least. Now, a lot of these differences stem from the Hulk's origin as a creation. In fact, in the version of the book I have, the Marvel Masterminds edition, Stan Lee has a little forward there explaining why these differences happened and how he was inspired to create the Hulk. In trying to create a new superhero, my thoughts kept turning back to the most popular character from the Fantastic Four, Benjamin Grimm, the Thing. The more I dwelled on the Thing's popularity, the more I realized everyone likes a monster-type marauder. And it's the monster motif that kind of generated the rest of the character as we went along. The Hulk has a lot of Frankenstein's power set as well as quite a bit of visual resemblance. The whole night-day shift comes from Jekyll and Hyde, and even Bruce Banner kind of represents Dr. Jekyll in a lot of ways by himself. And then the Hulk is gray in this issue because that's kind of a good somber monster color. It gives the right vibe that you're looking for when we're talking about monster comics. Also, I think it's worth mentioning, Stan Lee didn't mention this, but I think it's worth mentioning that at this point in time, Marvel wasn't really into the whole superhero swing of things yet. They had like the Fantastic Four and that was about it. And before then, a lot of their focus was on monster comics. And so it makes sense that The Incredible Hulk is a monster comic, and it reads like one too. I mean, if we look at the front cover here, there's like nothing here that says superhero. It's a monster comic. And when you pick it up and you start reading this book, you have to kind of realize that that's the case. You're not reading a superhero epic, you're reading a monster story. So, the big question though, is this comic any good? Well, not really. Stan Lee has always had a thing for really, really cheesy dialogue, and that's not his fault. It's a byproduct of his process of making comic books at that time. But the dialogue in the Hulk is just so bad. And oh no. The antagonists are gone just as quickly as they came. It doesn't feel like anyone in this story has any staying power. And of the supporting cast, we have like Betty Ross and Rick Jones and General Ross and all these other characters. Of the supporting characters, only General Ross really holds his own. And when we compare him to a similar character like J. Jonah Jameson, he still kind of falls a little bit flat. However, the redeeming value, I find this as a historical piece to be very fascinating. A lot of the things like the politics about the morality of the Soviet Union, or the advances of science being just as bad as it can be good, human nature to be normal and what that really means. I find that really fascinating, and that's probably where this book shines the most. So if you're going forward and you're going to read this book, I would recommend you do so with the mindset that as a story, it's kind of but as a time capsule of the mentality of that time, it's amazing, and I would totally recommend it. All of that said, if you like this book, then I'd recommend you check out these. So the first run of The Incredible Hulk ends at issue number 6, and it's a nice, good, hard cut-off ending. It ends the story and book ends it pretty well, so I recommend that. Let's see, Swamp Thing, he's another really popular monster-type character that has long-lasting value, so you might like some of his books. And Hulk Gray was kind of a retelling of these first original Hulk stories, but from a more emotional perspective. So now I want to turn it over to you guys. Do you like this story? Do you think that it has aged pretty well, or do you think that it's kind of stuck in its past, kind of like what I'm feeling about it? Also, when was your last vacation? Where did you go? I should go on vacation. I could use a vacation. Go ahead and leave your thoughts down in the comments below. And as always, thank you for joining me. Have a great day. And remember to always be your best self.